There are more houses for sale right now in Fargo, North Dakota than there's been in over 3 years. What does this mean for buyers who are trying to get into houses that have traditionally been competing against people to try to get into first-time buyer homes? And what does this mean for sellers whose houses are sitting on the market a little bit longer, or maybe they're not selling as quick? This is something that the Fargo, North Dakota real estate market has not seen in a long time, and you need to know what the numbers actually mean. In this video, I'm breaking down the numbers for Fargo right now for the month of June as we look forward to July and the rest of summer for 2025, and what that means for you whether you're buying a home, selling a home, or both. Welcome back to the channel. I'm Sykora, your Fargo real estate agent, and this video is going to be a little general overview, but if you want more information for your specific situation, your specific price point, or your specific buying or selling goals, you can contact me through my contact information that will be all in the description below or on the bottom of the screen. So let's jump right into this video where we break down the market here for Fargo, North Dakota and what is actually happening. We can look at the median sold price, $330K, kind of right around that average for Fargo, North Dakota of what the average price point is. Median list price, $399K, up 3.7%, up 6.2%. You know, these numbers are meaningful, but it doesn't mean as much as other numbers like days on market, sold to list ratio, that sort of thing. Because, you know, these numbers are heavily based off what type of houses are being sold. Fargo, it's a bigger city, but it's not a huge city. So if you have a couple, million or $2 million houses that are listed in a month, that's going to jump these numbers way up. So that's just something to keep in mind. We can look at 25 days on market, down from 27.5 in May. Sold to list percentage, 99.9%. We're going to jump into all these numbers a little bit later in this video and dive into them deeper. We can look at the current mortgage rates of around 6.75%. This is a big factor of where the market's at right now. And again, I'll jump into that a little bit later. But you got to think of interest rates, where they're at, and that being a big factor in why people moving or aren't moving. Then the list median sold price per square foot is around 157 bucks here in Fargo. And first we got to look at inventory. So you heard me say in the beginning of this video, more inventory than we've had in 3 years. We can see that with this. Look how much higher June is compared to May, April, March, February, and January for the total number of homes for sale. So we had 367 new listings, up from 273 in May. Now this is normal, but we're gonna look at the sold numbers and the pending numbers, which are lower than normal. So yes, there's more houses on the market, but there's not as many being sold, which brings this inventory up to the most it's been in 3 years, with 723 total homes for sale in the area. Now we can look at months of inventory too. It's gotten above that 4. So maybe you've seen my other market videos in the past, or you just know a little bit about the Fargo-Moorhead real estate market. It has stayed from like 3 to 3.5 or months of inventory for a long time. It doesn't really get above 4, but it's got above 4 now. And that's a 15% jump from the previous time. So look how much higher that is. And of course you can see on the bar graph on the left, look how much higher June is from the rest in the early parts of 2025. So now we're gonna jump a little bit of days on market, because especially if you're selling a home, you're likely buying a home too. So you gotta know what these numbers mean and how to time it correctly, because you don't want to end up having to pay 2 mortgage payments and you don't end up wanting to be homeless if you sell your house and you have nowhere else to go. So we can look at that now. Median days on market is 25, average days on market is 38, and 29 days pending listings, median days on market. So, yep, those numbers are important, but I want to really take your attention to this graph over here on the left, right here. This is how long listings are taking to sell. So we can see we still have over 50% are selling in under 30 days. Then this chunk right here, the little bit lighter blue, is 30 to 90 days, and 90 plus days is this little chunk over here. So even with the fact that we've had more inventory right now than we have had in 3 years, there's still a lot of buyer activity, and there's still a lot of quick buyer activity, because we can see under 30 days is over 50%. But if you look at this during, I don't want to say normal times, but from the last 3 years, especially when we were closer to COVID, this dark blue is covering like right over here, and this really light blue of 90 plus days was a really small margin. So these two little margins over here on the left are growing and growing every single month from the beginning of this year, as we saw back on this back graph. Can I go here? Yep. So they're growing and growing every single month here because these listings are sitting longer. Now the reasons for these listings sitting longer, of course you got to look at the interest rates as a factor of this, of the economics, of the, there's so much going around and going on in the world economically, politically, all that sort of thing that all influence this. And I think a lot of times more influence people's mind, and they influence what they see on the media of like, oh, is this what happening in Fargo? Is the housing market going to crash? Is the bubble going to crash? All that sort of thing. It does influence people because it's what they see, because someone's not going to buy or sell a house if they're not comfortable with buying or selling a house. So if they get scared from a lot of things, not necessarily scared, or if a lot of things are happening in the world, it may not be the best time to buy or sell a house for that specific person, which is part of the reason why I think all these numbers have shot up recently. But we still got to look, okay, even with keeping that in mind, even with most inventory being on the market in 3 years, still over 50% of things are selling in under 30 days. Now, this is really something you need to keep in mind, especially for the price point you're looking at. That's why I said at the beginning of this video, it's a general overview. If you want to know what's specific for your situation, reach out to me. Because if it's a house, let's say $250,000 and under, that's a first-time home buyer price range. There's still a lot of buyers in that price range, even with high interest rates, even with this, even with the economics, everything. There's always going to be buyers in that price range because we don't have that much inventory here in Fargo for that price range. But it's not going to be as much as it was the last couple of years. Okay? So we also got to look at this too. Buyer behavior and pricing trends. So for those who are thinking of buying a house, are you going to be at asking price? Are you going to have to offer over, under? What does this mean? So the market's showing signs of cooling with nearly 40% of homes selling under ask price. However, even with this, the median sales to list ratio is around 100%. It's 99.9% we saw on the first slide. Buyers still need to come prepared with strong offers, especially for well-priced, desirable properties. Competition remains healthy, but less frenzy than in previous years, giving buyers more negotiating power. So this is tying right back to what I said in the last slide. It all depends on price point. The first-time homebuyer price point where there's so much competition. Now, it's not going to be as crazy as it was a couple years ago. Not going to be 7 or 8 offers on a house, but maybe it'll be 2 or 3, depending on your price point. But then you got to know, depending on what you're looking for too, if it's something with higher days on market, maybe you have a little bit more room to negotiate. So you got to keep all this stuff in mind when you're looking at houses. That's why it's so important to know this market, to know what's going on and know what's happening. So yes, even though there's more inventory than there's been in 3 years, it doesn't mean you can go lowball every single house and you're going to get it. You still need to know the market for exactly what you're looking for because the market varies so much. So with that being said, what's the strategy? Someone comes into me and says, hey, I want to buy a house, not sure what price point yet. What are we going to do? Okay, first thing first, get pre-approved early. Even with interest rates that are a little bit higher, financing terms mean more than ever, especially from a seller's perspective. Is this person a strong financial offer? Doesn't need to be a cash offer to be a strong financial offer. Are you working with a good local lender? Are you putting enough money down? Do you have financing terms to back up your purchase price, to back up your offer price? A strong pre-approval can give you so much more than I think people realize when they're writing offers on properties, because it shows you're ready to go. Sometimes you can even get an appraisal waive that can make your offer competitive with cash. So things like that, it's really important to talk to a lender, especially a local lender, because they may offer lower rates depending on where they're at. Now, I'm not saying that we have the lowest rates in the country, not saying we have the best rates. The rates are higher than where it would be ideal for all of us, but it's something you're gonna have to deal with if you wanna buy a house here in 2025. Now, you also gotta think of, okay, like I said in the last slide too, if it's something that's been on the market for 1 or 2 days, then you don't have as much room to negotiate than something that's been on the market for 60 days. So you gotta take that into consideration too. That's something also as a real estate agent that should be guiding you or helping you through this process to help you out with too. But you gotta know the market. You gotta know the house you're looking at and the market for that house. Because if it's been on the market for 90 days, they've done a couple price drops, not much action, you have a lot more room to negotiate than something that's been on the market for 1 day. They have 12 showings in a weekend. They have offers coming in, things like that. So you just gotta know the situation of what you're looking to get into. Then you also gotta know your price per square foot. You know, the median list price is 174, the median sold price is 157, 10% gap. So there is a little bit more room for negotiation, and there's especially room for negotiation on those higher days on market houses because they've been sitting so long. They need to sell their house. You gotta think, you know, people always ask, oh, are you motivated to sell? Are you not motivated to sell? If you're willing to go through all the work to put your house on the market, to leave for buyers to come through and look to your house, you're motivated to sell. Everybody who has their house on the market is motivated to sell, because why else would you even put it on the market in the first place? So you just got to think about it. Look at the numbers. They can seem like they're complicated sometimes, but they're really sometimes that much simple. What does the days on market say? How many price drops have they done? That sort of thing. So now what if you're going to sell a house? Then what? The biggest thing for someone selling a house is to make sure you price your house correctly. Especially in a market like this where your house may be sitting on the market for a little bit longer, you do not want to overprice your house. It will lead to longer time on market, it will lead to price reductions, that sort of thing. And like I said in the last slide, if something's on the market for one day and has 10 showings, compared to something that's on the market for 90 days with 0 showings, which house do you think someone's going to write a stronger offer on to? Because you got to think of it in reverse psychology both ways. If you're selling your house, how can you make it the perfect option for buyers? If you're buying a house, where can you get the best deal possible if someone is selling a house, or where they just want to get rid of it? So priced right homes sell quickly and for full value. That's where that like over 60% under 30 days on market. But after that, you have 40% have price reductions before they sell, that sort of thing. So be ready for that and price your home correctly. Then you also want to make sure you prepare your property. So you can't just post a picture online, then you're going to get 10 offers. You need to make sure your internet appeal is really good for your property. So professional photography, drone footage, walkthrough tours, everything online needs to look good, because that's what's going to get people into your house in the first place, is online exposure. So having good online exposure to get as many showings, as many offers, to get you the best terms possible for your home. If you want more information on what's included in my virtual package when listing a house, you can send me an email. But that is one of the most essential things, especially in this time where everybody starts their house search online. Everybody's always looking at Zillow, at Realtor.com, at the MLS. Everybody's always browsing, so you need to make sure your house looks like the best option. Then, considering incentives. Sometimes this is a situation depending on the price point, depending on your house. Again, very situational, or maybe doing buy downs or doing a pre-listing inspection to attract more buyers. But honestly, it really depends on the price point. As you'll see, not this next slide, but the last slide, it's all situational to what your house is, what your situation is, and what your selling goals are. So now we'll look a little bit at expert insights and what the market outlook is to do here in the relative near future. Now, even though the National Zillow forecast says a slight dip in expected home values of 1.4%, that's not going to happen in Fargo. Fargo is a very steady and a very resilient home market when you compare it to national trends. Just for the uniqueness of the area, the low inventory we do have, that's why if you'll see median property value graph, it's a straight graph just like this, slightly going up every single year, 3 to 6%. It's not like this, like this, like this, like some other markets are across the country. I'll throw one up on the screen just to show you. So it's very steady growth here in Fargo. We're not gonna have huge dips. We're not gonna have huge jumps, that sort of thing. It's just steady growth, which can be a good thing for those looking to buy a home because of the investment potential. Now, one thing we just wanna watch for, what is the interest rate movement gonna do? We don't know if they're gonna drop or if they're gonna go up. We honestly don't know. People can say they're gonna drop. People can say the housing market's gonna crash, but we don't know honestly until it happens. We can look at the numbers and make a prediction, but no one knows. So that could shift the market dramatically. If you're looking to buy a house, well, if you're looking at 7% interest rates, there's not gonna be as much competition as if you're looking with 5% interest rates. It might be more expensive, but you might get into a house for less money. So things to consider. It's all situational. As you'll see, not this slide, but the next slide, this is just an overview, okay? So go back to this last slide, number 9. Buyers, your advantage, there's more listings to choose from. You have more options. Your risk, your negative, your con, the mortgage rates are higher right now than they have been in the years past. So the seller's advantage, if you price your home correctly, it will sell, and it will sell to your asking price. But what your con is, if you overprice your home, if you want to test the market at a super high price, it can happen with high days on market where you lose your negotiating power as a seller. So if you want more information on your specific situation, again, this was just an overview of the market of what I'm seeing, what's actually happening. But if you want a full analysis like this one on your current house or your current situation, reach out to me through all my contact information in the description below, and I'd be happy to help you out. Thanks for watching this video on the market here in Fargo, North Dakota for June, as we look forward to July and the rest of the summer of 2025.